Today I'll be making a German seasonal classic, Spargel, or as it's also known, white asparagus. German produce is very seasonal, and once a year people are all abuzz about asparagus season. This asparagus is a little different than the green varieties you normally see. To create this white variety, they're shielded from direct sunlight. This halts their chlorophyll production, and this leads to a very mild flavored asparagus. Today I'll be trying my hand at making this variety in as close to the traditional method as I can. Aside from the asparagus, I'll also be showing you a quick way to make hollandaise. So let's get started. To start, we need about 500 grams or 1 pound of white asparagus. The first thing you're going to actually need to do is peel the asparagus. So there are actual proper peelers for this, but like a lot of the requisite asparagus paraphernalia, I don't own any of it. So this might be a little bit more messy than it needs to be, but it'll still work. So once the asparagus is peeled, we need to collect the peels in a bowl. We'll need to use them later. Also, chop the woody ends off the bottoms of the asparagus and save this along with the peels. We can then place the peeled asparagus into a bowl of water. True to the nature of Germans, nothing here goes to waste. So we will actually use the peels and the ends to boil an asparagus broth. Place the peels and ends of the asparagus into a pot. Also add the slices from half of a lemon along with 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of sugar. Add 2 liters of water to this and place this on the stove. Allow this to come up to a boil, and once it does, reduce the heat and let it simmer for 15 minutes. Once the 15 minutes are up, we should have a nice flavorful broth to boil our asparagus in. Strain out the peels and then add the asparagus into the broth. We'll allow this to simmer for about 15 minutes. Now, while this is simmering, we can begin to work on our hollandaise sauce. There are plenty of tricks on getting around the conventional way of making hollandaise sauce, and I'm going to use a trick that I learned from Kenji Lopez Alt. What we need to do here is heat up 100 grams of butter in a saucepan. Once the butter starts to melt and begins to bubble slightly, scrape off any foam that rises to the surface. While this continues to warm up, we can begin working on the other half of the mixture for the hollandaise. The first thing we need to do is get the juice from the other half of the lemon that we had earlier. Next, we need 2 egg yolks, and we're going to place them in a container that is slightly larger than the head of a stick blender. So for me, this pitcher works really great. Add 1 teaspoon of salt, and then add our lemon juice in. So now we need to grab our butter and slowly pour in the melted butter into the egg yolk mixture while using the stick blender. This will help emulsify the butter and egg yolks, allowing them to come together into a nice thick hollandaise. The real trick here is very slowly pouring it in. We also don't want to raise the temperature of the eggs too quickly or we can scramble them. If timed right, the asparagus should be done by now, and we can tell because the stalks themselves will become very flexible. We're now ready to plate and serve this. A typical way to serve this is with finely sliced ham and hollandaise on top, but you can also serve this with butter or just eat it by itself. There are also many different ways to cook asparagus. If you want a more crunchy version, you can also try just baking it in the oven or maybe frying the asparagus itself. It's really up to you. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this quick recipe, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. It really helps me a lot. Thank you for watching.